I'm Jeff Cornwall, and this is the Entrepreneurial Mind. Today my guest is Dr. Turner Nashe with Innertainment Delivery Systems. We'll be back to talk with him after this.
Talkopolis programming is sponsored in part by the Center for Advanced Dentistry, now serving the greater Nashville area.
Welcome, Turner.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate you being here. So tell us a little bit about what Innertainment Delivery Systems, IDS, does and kind of what your market is.
We provide educational content and hardware for the correctional space, i.e. jails and prisons.
All right. So how does one get to the point where you're delivering content to prisons and jails? Kind of back us up and walk us into that, because it's an interesting niche, shall we say.
It's super niche-y, right? When I did my doctoral studies at TSU, my topic of dissertation was to explore why inmates who were incarcerated did not take advantage of the GED program while they were incarcerated.
Okay.
Top reasons were poor previous school experience, lack of family support, and they didn't really feel like a GED would get them a job upon release. A close fourth was they did not have, or they didn't feel like they had, a consistent opportunity to access learning environments.
So you took your dissertation and turned it into a business.
Yes, sir.
I hate people like you. My dissertation sits there on the shelf at Kentucky Library and gathers dust, and you made a wonderful business out of this.
Well, I was a businusman before I did the dissertation.
Yeah, me too. It didn't help me any.
And in a down market, I had nothing to do but try.
Right.
And through 2008, 2009, 2010, those were some really lean years.
Right.
So while I was in school, I thought, the only loan you could get was a student loan. So stay in school, advance your education, and then try to turn it around so you can help some other people.
It's a fascinating finding that you had in terms of kind of really getting to the heart of why education wasn't working for inmates and coming up with a solution. So exactly what is your solution? What do you guys do specifically?
Our solution is it's a delivery mechanism, right? Like, so you have certain candidates within correctional institutions. Some seek GED, some seek vocational training, some seek college, college level education. Mm-hmm. What we try to do is not dictate who gets what, but to make sure that that content can get from point A to point B. And there are a myriad of security issues that you have to deal with in allowing public content to reach an inmate inside of a secure facility.
They don't have access to Wi-Fi, they don't have access to Ethernet cables or anything like that?
Not on a regular basis. So what we found was that your typical learning lab within a correctional facility may have 20, 25 computers. Most of them, safely you could say, are antiquated. Right. There are some in some states, which I won't name, where they just don't work. Right. There isn't a single computer in the lab that works. Right. Thus, inmates can't further their education. What we chose to do was...
Gateway went out of business a few years ago, so it's kind of hard to get parts.
Exactly, something like that. Yeah. And many of these warranties have run out. These are state-owned commodities that no longer have service contracts. And we went in with a tablet, 7-inch form factor, 10-inch form factor, with no Wi-Fi, but teachers and administrators are very capable of downloading content to those and hanging them out within the facility, not necessarily having to move bodies of people to the antiquated computer labs.
So you have a secure unit where the content can be downloaded from, or how does this work?
We have several methodologies that we use to transfer content from the outside to these tablets. A couple of them are proprietary, so we try to keep those under wraps, unless you're going to allow me to kill you after I tell you. Nah,
that's all right. I'm not going to pay you for it either. So let's just say you have some really cool technology that gets stuff onto the tablets. Mm-hmm. All right, and then the inmates can take them back to their cells?
Exactly. They can take them back to their cells. Typically what we'll see is the jail or prison administrator will allow them to check these tablets out much like they would have a library book 2-3 years ago.
What are you seeing in terms of outcomes? I know you're pretty early into this. Mm-hmm. Are you seeing more utilization? Are you seeing them go further? Are you seeing anything yet in terms of positive outcomes from what you're doing?
I'd like to have more of a longitudinal runway, if you will, to collect additional data before I can make a claim that there's definitely a benefit to using this over books. I do know, specifically relating to the security aspect, you know, you can't hide a shank inside of a tablet.
Right.
You know, you can't pass contraband in a tablet. So at least we're trying to attack some of those more fundamental issues up front. We are recording and collecting data so that we can report at a later date, maybe some time on task, maybe some Group A finished a class faster than Group B because they had greater access. You know, some of those A, B group things.
So are you working beyond just the delivery mechanism, and also are you going to be working in this company to help develop better content and more relevant content?
Excellent question. Yes, we will be. What we find is that the prison population isn't like your traditional K-12 school where it's ordinal. You go from 1 to 2 to 3.
Right.
You've got about 2 million people locked up across the country. They're all going to be on their own plan. So it's more like an IEP,
Right.
individual education plan for each inmate. So when you work with the college administrators or the vocational administrators or even just the regular GED administrators that the state may pay for, it's going to be more beneficial to every inmate to have an IEP that we can set up on a digital program for them.
So some might be at a elementary school level, and some may really be up to grade and just be ready to start taking college credits.
Yeah, we're actually servicing a contract right now that you know, they have 7,500 inmates that are already enrolled in college. You know, so don't think that just because someone is locked up that they don't have any education. I mean,
Right.
It's just, you know, everybody makes a mistake at some point in their life, and these guys are trying to get their lives back on track.
So are you doing a state by state at this point? Is that kind of the market level that you're able to develop this business?
We have some state partners. We also have what I call commercial partners, people that are already in the space that want to offer an additional product line, which would be education.
So some of the private prison administration companies.
Yes.
Gotcha. So what? So you're going to be developing you're developing technology. You have those developed. You're working on content. Are there market opportunities beyond prison systems with the kind of technology you're developing that you're starting to envision?
Absolutely. I think when we service the population that we call digital natives, right? People under the age of 39, you know, we're glued to our cell phones, we're glued to our tablets on a daily basis. It only makes sense that we move into maybe the college realm where we turn in the old textbook and we rent digital textbooks. You know, that's another project that we're working on with a local university, and what we're finding is we can decrease the cost of the textbook by about 75%. You don't have to keep it for the rest of your life. You really only need it for that semester.
Right.
And, you know, with the cost of college rising incredibly and student loan debt reaching enormous heights, it just makes more sense to allow students a more fiscally responsible option where you can rent a book on a tablet and then return it after the semester's over.
Do you envision technologies like yours disrupting education to the point where it even changes delivery systems, or are you still viewing your play as more ancillary?
I think the market will dictate the delivery mechanism. I know when I was in my graduate studies, I did not buy every book for every class that I had. Number one, they were too expensive.
Right.
Number two, you turn them in, you really don't get any money back. I found Google Books as a great resource where I could kind of pick and choose which books I could get away with not purchasing. So I think as you have a market like that, which is growing, I think that ultimately the students will dictate the best way that they take in information.
Fascinating. Well, we are out of time. I'd love to have you back sometime.
Would love to be back.
And hear about the progress.
Thank you so much for having me again.
Thank you.